Okay, today is going to be a little bit different. I'm answering a couple of viewer questions about how much money I make on YouTube. And of course, it's not a lot. It's just a few $100 a month. And as soon as I answered that question, then the next question came, which was, well, how do you make money? And is it on the repairs and stuff like that? And I'm like, no, not anymore. I used to make a lot of money on repairs because I used to do a lot of repairs. But I can't have, my body can't handle that burnt, bruised, and bleeding all the time anymore. I've got 2 ruptured discs in my back. I'm not supposed to even be able to walk. I can't wrestle 250, 350 pound transmissions all day, every day. So I don't do that. Luckily, I owned a parts store before I sold my building in downtown Chattanooga. And I moved all my parts out of that parts store and I brought them here. And I'm going to show you my setup here and how I do things and how I make money mostly off of the parts. I'm going to start with, it's early in the morning, and early in the morning I like to box up the stuff and get it ready to ship out so that I can ship things out a little bit afternoon and not too much afternoon, because I want everything to get to the people as quickly as possible. I've only got 3 sales so far this morning, and it's one of these, which that one's got a bit of a high bevel to it, and you can see how the springs are curved, so I want to get the better one. Ship that one out. This is off the 4L60 shelf. I have several of these shelves for different kinds of transmissions with different kinds of transmission parts. They started out as 13.5 feet high, and I had to cut them down for this ceiling in here, which is not quite 13.5 feet. I had 22-foot high ceilings in my building in Chattanooga. Here, the second part that I've sold today is one of these. This is for a Chrysler 413 470. I've got a lot of Chrysler parts on this shelf here and in other places and piled up in boxes over here. It's a mess. It's a work in progress. I still tear down transmissions to accumulate more inventory, which I say accumulate. I already had the inventory. It was just locked in the transmissions, and I have to add the labor to get it out, to get it into a sellable form. Then comes inspecting. The things have to be inspected. Spend some time inspecting things and separating the stuff out that's not going to be sellable, and then cleaning the parts. So quite a bit of labor to get them from here to the shelf, and a lot of them get lost to the fact that they're damaged or not sellable or not fixable. I'd say probably only 30-40% of the parts end up being sellable, but that's usually enough to account for core price and some labor. That trailer is full of more parts, transmissions and transmission parts that haven't been fully tore down or not tore down at all. And so that is right now pretty much dead inventory, because me doing all the labor is not enough labor to even get to that when I have van load full of parts, this SUV full of parts. Shop Cat, you gonna tear down some parts today? She doesn't even want to talk about it. So no help there. This bus is full of mostly kits, overhaul kits and gasket kits, that sort of thing. About 50% of it is listed on my eBay store already. That brings us to this trailer right here. It's a 53-footer, and it's full of those shelves that I was showing you. Because I go in and out frequently, I have ramps to make it easier for the 2-wheeler. And we have Tigger the Shop Cat to regularly patrol the area and all the parts to make sure that there's no rodents getting into anything, peeing on anything, or messing anything up. Rodent pee will cause some serious rust on parts. Now, I haven't finished all the shelves in here, because you can see I've got a lot of carts here, and those carts still have stuff on them I haven't gone through yet. There's 3 partially tore down transmissions here I haven't got to yet. Back here in the back are some other transmissions tore down and shelved, and some engine stuff, which gets me to a head that I sold today. I think is in here. Yep, right here. This is the head that I sold today. This is a couple $100 in and of itself. So if I get one or two sales like this a day, you know, we're into hundreds of dollars a day, not counting those smaller parts that I showed you. That's more than I make in a YouTube in a month. And this kind of stuff is a lot easier to carry around than whole transmissions. How about it, Tigger? Does everything check out? Find any Mises trying to make a messes? I have the first of many lights I'm going to put in here, and I'm going to drop a cord down back there and put it through the floor, and then put a connector underneath the trailer so that I can connect up to power and power up several lights in here. This is some of the 440, 4T60E stuff that I've been moving in here onto this shelf. I didn't sell any of this today, and I haven't moved it all in here yet. But you can see how these shelves work really well for transmission and engine parts. And again, I had to cut them to make them fit in here. So far it's not lunchtime, and I've got $300 here. As soon as I box this up and ship it out, $300. That's not the end of it, because you don't get $300 mornings, $300 afternoons over and over again if you're not doing something other than just boxing the stuff up you sell, because sales will go down. So a big secret here is that in order for me to increase sales, I live by a rule that I got to list twice as much as what I sell for the day. Which means I got to clean up and inspect and photograph and make a listing for at least 3 parts to make up for this. Well, no, because I sold 3 parts. I got to do 6 parts to make up for this morning. If I sell 2 more parts this afternoon, that's 5. That means I got to list 10 before the end of the day. So I will be working into the night. That's if I don't do anything on YouTube. Another secret is I've got to keep that 100% really good feedback. So one of the things I do is on parts like this, that there's several different versions of them, and some of the versions are quite rare. When I'm doing a YouTube video showing off pressure washer, bead blaster or something, I'll take these parts that I've photographed and listed, and they look like this in the photographs and the listings on the eBay, and then I'll clean them up and make them look like this. Same thing with some of the stuff like these rare tail housings. The listing, I'll have a picture like this, and then I'm playing around with pressure washers and stuff, and I end up with something like this. Now, you got a customer that saw these pictures like this, and they're like, oh man, I've been looking for that for 6 months and I couldn't find it. And they'll pay the same price for this as they would for this. If they're just casually looking, and looking like this would have made them jump the fence and go ahead and get the sale. Well, that's not going to happen on stuff like this, because they either need it, and they don't care if it looks like this, or they don't need it, and they're not going to buy it. But when they receive this, expecting this, you're pretty much guaranteed a 5-star review. But guess what I'm saying is, under promise, over deliver. Get a really good rating on your eBay store. And one other question that might come up that I want to answer is, yes, I make way more money off my eBay store than I did when I had my parts store in the building on a busy street with customers coming in the door. And that means both gross sales and profit, because the profit margin's higher because I've got less overhead. And the gross sales are more on eBay because eBay has a much bigger customer base than I ever could make by doing my own marketing, having my own one location. I even had employees and payroll helping me there. And of course that cut into the profit margins, but the gross sales were still less with employees and help at the physical location on the main street than it is me just doing this here on one of my own personal properties and out of a converted barn garage. So if you found this interesting and you want to hear more about running an eBay parts store, those sort of things, or dealing with the parts, let me know in the comments below. Maybe I'll do some more of these kind of videos. Hope this helps you. See you in the next one.